Former US President George H.W. Bush dies aged 94. Rifts emerge as world leaders gather for G20 summit. And government to restart flu vaccinations on Monday.
Good evening. Former U.S. President George H.W. Bush has died at the age of 94. He'll be remembered most for presiding over the collapse of the Soviet Union and leading the U.S.-led coalition which forced Iraq out of Kuwait. It was January of 1989 when George Herbert Walker Bush took the oath of office as America's 41st president.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
His defining moment was his aggressive response to Iraqi President Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait in 1990.
Kuwait, a member of the Arab League and a member of the United Nations, was crushed. Its people brutalized. 5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been joined.
The Gulf War stoked his popularity, and his ratings among Americans soared to about 90%. At a time when the Cold War was ending and the influence of Soviet-style communism was withering, Bush's military and diplomatic actions firmly cast the United States as the world's leading superpower.
Not long ago, and some believe that the weight of history condemned our two great countries, our two great peoples, to permanent confrontation. Well, you and I must challenge history, make new strides, build a relationship of enduring cooperation.
But a pledge he made in 1988 when running for president came back to haunt him.
Read my lips.
Later as president, Bush agreed to raise taxes to help reduce the government's deficit. That reversal angered conservatives and sealed his fate as a one-term president. In 2011, he returned to the White House, where President Barack Obama gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian award. Before he was president, President Richard Nixon appointed him ambassador to the United Nations in 1971. 2 years later, he became chairman of the Republican National Committee. Then President Gerald Ford appointed him as an envoy to China in 1974, and then director of the CIA. Proving you're never too old to enjoy life, Bush celebrated his 75th, 80th, 85th, and 90th birthdays by skydiving.
Don't just sit around watching TV, talking to it. Get out there and realize at 80 years old you still got a life.
Still, he lived to see his son, George W. Bush, twice elected to the presidency. U.S. presidents past and present are paying tribute to Bush, including President Donald Trump, along with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton.
The Group of 20 summit in Argentina enters its crucial second and final day as diplomats try to bridge divisions on major issues. As Alan Buckner reports, there are major stumbling blocks on managing migration, climate change, and world trade.
It was a high five that turned heads as Russian President Vladimir Putin and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman appeared to seek refuge in each other, bonding with a tough guy hand grab as the leaders sat down for behind closed-door talks. Most leaders are distancing themselves from Prince Mohammed over the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which the CIA believes was ordered by the Crown Prince, something denied by Saudi Arabia. President Xi Jinping also took time out to meet with Prince Mohammed. The two discussed ways to better synergize China's Belt and Road Initiative. Putin, meanwhile, faces widespread condemnation over the sea confrontation and seizure of Ukrainian ships and sailors near Crimea. After the incident, U.S. President Donald Trump canceled a scheduled meeting with Putin on the sidelines of the G20.
Ukraine, purely and simply, Ukraine. We don't like what happened. We're not happy about it. Nobody is.
Trump is scheduled to meet with President Xi later today to discuss the trade war that's seen the two countries slap each other with tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars of goods.
And we've already spoken. And we're working very hard. If we could make a deal, that'd be good. I think they want to, and I think we'd like to, and we'll see.
The G20 was formed 10 years ago in the wake of the global financial crisis to find ways to solve global problems together. But diplomats in Buenos Aires are struggling to find ways to agree. European officials say U.S. negotiators blocked progress on managing migration, slowing climate change, and streamlining how world trade is governed. Indeed, the final communiqué may include agreement from just 19 of the 20 countries. Outside, thousands took to the streets in protest against what they say are leaders of the global powers who are responsible for hunger, war, and the destruction of the environment. The summit comes at a tough time for Argentina, where inflation is running at 40% as the economy contracts. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
In local news, Health Secretary Sophia Chan says flu jabs will be available again at government hospitals and clinics next week. And as for that new ban on selling alcohol to minors, a grace period will be given to retailers. Kena Chu has more.
The hospital authority will resume its flu vaccination service on Monday, said the Secretary for Food and Health, Sophia Chan, this morning. Earlier this week, public hospitals and clinics suspended the service after white particles were found in a batch of seasonal flu jabs imported from Taiwan.
Hong Kong has a drug registration system to ensure any drug that is imported to Hong Kong is safe. We have already taken samples to look at whether there is any particles in the vaccination. We will continue to look at any international standardized practice.
Chan noted the vaccine's French maker Sanofi Aventis had promised to supply a new batch of vaccines within this week, and that the quantity of shots available will remain unaffected. The government now expects an investigation report from the pharmaceutical company on the initial vaccine batch. Chan also talked about a new law which bans sale and supply of beverages containing more than 1.2% of alcohol by volume to anyone under 18. The law came into effect yesterday. Noting that retailers will require time to get accustomed to the law, Chan said warnings will be issued when they unintentionally break it during the early stages. The regulation applies to online stores as well. Sellers are required to ask customers to declare their age both before sales and at delivery. This has raised concerns as to whether the law's enactment could be challenged. The government says the Tobacco and Alcohol Control Office will conduct online monitoring and carry out spot checks. The government will also strengthen promotion on the health impacts of alcohol. Under the new law, retailers can refuse to sell when it is questionable whether the buyer is of an eligible age. Those breaking the new law will be liable to a maximum penalty of a $50,000 fine. Kena Chu, TVB News.
Officials are looking into whether the coach involved in yesterday's deadly crash in Tsingyi had the proper license to run employee services. The coach and the taxi involved in the accident have been taken to an inspection center for investigation. The crash left 5 people dead and 32 others injured. The 62-year-old driver remains in critical condition and 5 others remain hospitalized. The Transport Department noted that Kwun Chung Bus, which runs the service, may have violated rules. That's because the coach was not licensed to provide employee pickup and drop-off services.
Police have arrested an Indonesian woman as part of a probe into yesterday's abandoned baby case. The baby was discovered yesterday afternoon at Siwan Shan Shopping Center. A janitor found the newborn inside the trash can of a female restroom on the 7th floor. The umbilical cord and placenta were still attached. The baby was confirmed dead upon arriving at the hospital. A 31-year-old woman was arrested early in the morning on suspicion of concealing birth of a child.
Hong Kong's Innovation and Technology Secretary has reassured people that the planned electronic identification system will be secure. The government is scheduled to roll out the system in 2 years' time. Caleb Lowe reports.
Hong Kong residents may each be given their own individual digital identity and authentication by 2020. The government even has a name for it: Electronic Identity, or EID. The Innovation and Technology Chief today explained how an EID works.
EID is a key. It's like a master key. The master key is linked to your biometrics features. For example, your fingerprints, your facial recognition features, your gait, or your voice print. Voice print doesn't mean your voice sound, but the way you talk, okay? Sort of the emphasis you have.
The technology will first be used for government transactions. But as the system develops, it may later cover commercial transactions online. Companies will be given the option whether to join the system. Yang assured that the system is safe to use.
EID itself does not contain any personal information, but in a virtual world, it can be used as a very effective, secure key to unlock your personal data stored at various databases, okay? Only through your own permission.
Yang believes the EID system will turn out to be a very effective way to secure access to personal data. Caleb Loong, TVB News.
心田日裝有20幾款唔同嘅 mask 俾我揀，隨我心情，隨我需要自由去打。要靚就要 Day Mask， 心田日裝。
And security experts say the data breach proves Marriott hotels didn't really care about protecting their customers. They further warn the stolen information can be used for burglary, espionage, or reputational attacks.
It's an instance where you have a hotel who's not in the business of cybersecurity trying to securely store data, which they shouldn't be doing, and getting themselves into trouble. It fundamentally says that they had the wrong security posture and they didn't care about their users' security and privacy. They can outsource that. They can effectively transfer that risk to an alternate party by having a party that specializes in managing and storing credit card information. In some cases, with a passport number and other things like that, you can open a bank account, you can use this as a way to get loans or do other types of identity theft.
The hack began in 2014, 1 year before Marriott bought Starwood to create the world's largest hotel operator. The $13.6 billion deal closed back in September 2016. Other hotels affected include the Sheraton, St. Regis, the W Hotels, and the Westin. As the FBI vows to look into the attack, a class action lawsuit has already been filed to protect those affected.
More ways to divert visitors coming to Hong Kong via the Mega Bridge. The new distractions include a ferry taking visitors to a famous fishing village on Lantau. Christy Lowe with details.
More tourists may soon be a common sight in Tai O, which is famed for its tranquility. Beginning today, a ferry operator is offering a new route between Tung Chung and Tai O on Lantau Island. This tour group from Jiangmen with around 50 visitors will spend 2 hours at the fishing village. They will also take a closer look at the Mega Bridge along the Pearl River estuary. The operator plans to run a trip every Saturday, serving 200 visitors. The Mega Bridge's port area in Hong Kong remained busy with most tour groups coming in from Zhuhai and beyond. That's despite a notice issued by Guangzhou Tourism Bureau last month, which urged travel agencies to avoid arranging weekend day tours. However, it doesn't seem feasible to some day trippers. I'm only free during weekends because of work, said this tourist from Shenzhen. The government earlier revealed pop-up stores would be set up at the arrival hall. It aims to divert day trippers from heading to Tongcheng or other parts of the city for shopping. Although some stores remain vacant, a 4,000 square feet pop-up store opened today. It sells daily necessities which are popular among mainland tourists, such as milk formula, diapers, and medicines.
这次我自己来是想
My wife and I want to buy gold or silver jewelry. We will still head to the city center as we found none here, said this man. Tongcheng, which has been plagued by large tour groups, was less crowded this afternoon. With additional trips organized, it didn't take long to wait for the B6 bus, which runs between the port area and Tongcheng. Christy Lung, TVB News.
A powerful earthquake measuring 7.0 rocked southern Alaska yesterday. Fortunately, there were no reports of deaths or serious injuries. The quake hit Anchorage, that's Alaska's largest city with a population of 300,000. It shattered highways, rocked buildings, and sent people running into the streets or ducking under desks. It briefly triggered a tsunami warning that was later canceled. There were several aftershocks as well. Downed wires disrupted electricity and telephone service was knocked out. Alaska Senator admits rebuilding will be difficult.
It's wintertime. It's Alaska. It's dark and it's cold. And so it's going to be difficult to perhaps do some of the necessary repair in the very, very immediate time frame. The good news at this point is that we have not heard of injury or loss of life, but I'm very worried about the status right now. Alaskans are calm though. They're telling me that they're hanging in there and they're doing fine. We're pretty resilient.
And from all of